Hey, what's going on, Wealthy Legacy Journeyers? Welcome back to the Wealthy Legacy Journey. I'm your host, Kendall Liden, and the title of today's episode is 2025 Forward Looking Goals. I apologize up front. I'm feeling a little under the weather. You probably can hear it, but I wanted to make sure that I got something out this week. And as we're rolling up and we're getting to the last few weeks of 2025. In fact, this is the last, or 2024, excuse me, this is the last full week of 2024. And then next week we have like, I think it's the 30th is Monday, 31st is Tuesday, if I remember correct. And then we roll into the new year. So, this week and next week are kind of both going to be about like forward-looking guidance and goals and what's going on and how we're rebalancing and where we're placing our equity for 2025 and what we've been able to do. So we actually have a big event happening on Friday, which will be a large income-producing event, and we'll talk about that here shortly. And so I don't really want to talk too much about how we're rebalanced until that closes, and then next week we'll kind of cover exactly where we're closing 2024 at, and exactly how we're going to be deploying that in 2025. But let's kick off with real estate today. Uh, I've got a couple goals, that we've got growing. As long as this Palestine deal closes, that's the big income producing event. I'd like to shoot for having $60,000 plus a net worth in real estate next year, and so that'll just basically be, reinvesting the profits, the initial capital invested into the Palestine deal plus the profits that we get from that deal. Plus, we're going to do some rebalancing to the portfolio, moving an extra roughly $6,000. I'll figure out the exact numbers, for next week once everything closes. But we'll have another roughly $6,000 that's going over into real estate. I'd like to be able to have four plus properties to diversify. I don't want to put my entire 60 into one, singular property. I'd really like to see if we could get to four properties. With that, I'd like to bring in at least $10,000 of JV capital. And so this last year, we had 3,000 and some change. I know the people that invested is actually my parents. They wanted to be a part of something, and they had about $3,000 in there, and that worked out great because it allowed me to stretch my dollar a little bit further. And so they want to reinvest, so they'll after Palestine closes, they'll have roughly like 5 grand, and they want to roll that right back in, and excuse me. And so to get at least another 5 grand from somewhere, from somebody, maybe more than that, I think would be just a really good goal, to be able to bring on a second JV capital partner, and it will help stretch my dollar even further and help us to really, with a higher likelihood, be able to reach that, 60K plus net worth, in real estate. So Palestine is scheduled to close this coming Friday, December 27th. This is actually my first solo real estate buy and sell since 2019. And every other deal since that time has been a JV deal and with other real estate professionals. And it's not just like a JV capital partner where I'm partnering up with somebody who's got a little bit of cash, but they're not necessarily like a real estate professional. A lot of times it's been the biggest JVs that I've been a part of are on fix and flips, and it was somebody else that was handling the acquisitions. I was handling the construction. Somebody else was handling the disposition of selling. And so, there's a huge part of that real estate process that I was not a part of. And so this has been a really big, great breath of fresh air, a huge confidence boost, because those two deals in 2019 nearly crushed me. One was a flip that almost went completely sideways, and we barely got out of that one with at least break even. And the other one was this like duplex that I bought, and I was trying to do like the rent the room thing, cash flow off of it, and I ended up like negative every single month at a time in my life where I did not have enough income to be going negative every month, and that was a really uncomfortable, painful experience as well. So, this has been good to kind of have, I would say, like my first, really successful deal since then. It's definitely a confidence boost. So I'm excited. I don't see any reason this won't close this coming Friday, but I also don't want to, count my eggs before they hatch. So we'll talk more about all that stuff next week after everything's said and done. In my job, I think that after a lot of discussion, Libby and I have decided that it would be wisest for me to stay in this role with the Ambition Group and what we're building here for the next 4-ish years until I'm about 30 years old at least. Over that time, growing my income and dumping into net worth Libby, growing her art business, but this just being like kind of a stable place to be able to continue putting roots in and growing from, especially on growing my income. I've learned so much over, especially this last year, of the value of income. When I read Dave Ramsey's Babysit Millionaires, he talked about how one of the most powerful things that you have in your wealth building arsenal is your income. And I have not given enough credit to my income. I just saw, oh, how much money can I make in my own business? I still thought that was like, the biggest way to be able to build wealth. And long term, I do think that flipping your money over money, you're flipping your money over is obviously that's how you build long term wealth. But how do you get that initial nest egg? And having this last year and a half of stability has kind of opened up my eyes to there's nothing wrong with a little bit of stability. Um, especially even as like the last few months I've been learning, stuff with the stocks. I really thought the stocks was going to work. Like I thought the conversation that we'd be having right now was, oh, I'm about to, go into stocks full time. I'm thinking about, giving in my notice for my job. And then obviously the stocks just didn't end up working out, but I still have that steady spot with my job. And it kind of gave me this like pause looking back, or stepping back after the stocks didn't go the way that I expected at all. And was like, oh, okay. Well, I still have this stable thing over here. It's not like I've already jumped ship. And sure makes me glad that I didn't jump ship. But I have done that before in the past where I had no income. I jumped ship. I tried something new. It didn't work. And now all of a sudden I was up creek without a paddle. And so I don't want to do that again. Speaking of stocks, we decided to pause that front for now. This is the space that I have the least experience in, and I really want to use that bandwidth that was being taken up by the stocks to focus on fronts that have a higher likelihood of success. So, we can keep flipping our capital over in real estate. That's something I've been learning for half a decade now, or longer. Just keep going there. Keep working on building up income and maybe some equity partnership type roles inside of what I do inside of my job. And then Libby being able to build her art business. And speaking of the art business, our goal is for her to have $10,000 plus of net income in 2025. And so basically 10xing what she was able to do in 2024. For us, we see the only way to 10x is by, jumping into a new medium, a new way of communicating with her audience. And so this year is really going to be dedicated to online presence, online growth. She'll still go to the fairs, but how can she leverage that to get people to come buy online, to then be able to have a customer base that she can email out to, that she can reach out to sell again, especially through the holidays. And, how can she get that online audience to share, or how can she even get people who come to her booth at the fair to share what she does on social media? And hopefully she can start getting some conversions out of that and further building her customer base from people that weren't even there. So she can use her in-person presence to build a powerful online presence to multiply her efforts over time. So the real focus, I think, is going to be growing, that online presence, growing a customer base and a fan base, and then tapping into that customer base and fan base for, um, you know, selling more products, growing income, stuff like that. So I think she's got a really good game plan. I'm excited to see, what we can produce through 2025. And the other things is Lee and I have had some really great conversations lately around saving. Planning to buy, what it looks like to get ready to buy our next home again in the next 1 to 2 years. We've taken a huge step back in life, selling our home, moving into this fifth wheel, getting our finances straight, getting our goals straight and all that kind of stuff. It's been a huge help to the wealthy legacy journey, just letting up pressure on, how much we're trying to spend every month. But, we also do not want to live in this fifth wheel. Excuse me. Sorry. We don't want to live in this fifth wheel until our kids are adults. And so, yeah, saving for our next home, what does that look like in the next 1 to 2 years? Sorry about that. So what does it look like to save for a home in the next 1 to 2 years? And then we've also created a game plan for waterfalling our extra cash flow. So as I'm continuing to able to build up my income in 2025, we basically this is something that, we've always struggled with, especially as like an entrepreneur or something like that. How do we handle these influxes of income? And so I actually, but it's based off of Dave Ramsey's sinking funds. But it's like a waterfall method to those sinking funds, where basically we have our every dollar budget. So like every dollar has a place and a name to go to up to $3,605. So first thing we do when income comes in is we tithe. The next thing we do is we pay off that $3,605. We're very specific and we make sure those are the bare minimums. But after that, where does any additional income go? And so this waterfall fund goes like it basically, think of it as like a tiered system. And once one bucket is full, it goes to the next bucket and it keeps filling those buckets up until you run out of water. So the first bucket is date and fund money at $100 a month. Once that bucket's full, goes to the next bucket. We're trying to build up to a 6 month emergency fund. Currently, we will by the end of this year we'll have like a 4.5 month emergency fund, and so that's $600 a month. Um, Once that bucket's full for the month, then we'll have $20 a month that goes to birthdays. Once that bucket's full, $50 a month goes to home and car repairs. After that bucket's full, $50 goes to car tires. After that bucket's full, $40 to Christmas. And then we have 550 a month going to a new minivan, $150 a month going to vacation, $1,000 a month going towards closing fees for when we are able to buy our next property and just kind of saving up for stuff. $400 a month going to move-in furniture because we obviously had to sell everything when we moved into this fifth wheel. So we'll be starting from scratch. Um, we're not planning to buy like new stuff, but that'll allow us to have a budget to be able to move into our next house and afford furniture. And then truck, $600 a month, and then Roth IRA, $585 a month, which will allow us to max out our $7,000 a year contribution, which is something that we haven't been doing at all. And then overage from there, from that point, we'll have 15% of our total household income that goes to boring investments, basically in the S&P 500. This is a Dave Ramsey recommendation. It's baby step number 4. And then once we hit that 15%, if we have more income than that, for now, everything will go back to saving for home expenses, down payment, paying off the house early, which is baby step number 6. We're not planning to save up for our kids' college or anything like that, so we're not going to do baby step number 5. Um, you know, neither Libby and I went to college, and while I see the value in it, uh, I don't know. I don't think that's a place that we're really focused in on right now. Um, and so, you know, that's kind of where our overflow, chart looks like. And so now up to, I think it's basically like $120,000 a year. I currently make $70,000 a year. Up to $120,000 a year, we have every dollar accounted for. Now, if I start making more than that, then we'll have to add to this waterfall to really define where things go, and or make sure that we're at least putting that overage to the right places. Like I said, everything beyond that's going towards down payment, early payoff, on the house, and we may even allocate some to real estate if, that starts going really well as well. I'm really hoping also in 2025 that we see Hudson and Odell come through and those sell. And a huge chunk of those, if not all of that's going to probably go towards that down payment fund. Our goal is to be able to do a 20% down payment. We'd really like to be able to buy, a 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom house. That'll allow us room to continue growing our family on at least 5 acres. So that way we can get ag exempt. We can get a couple animals, greatly decrease our property taxes with that ag exempt and make a little income from the property. Not a ton, but really, it's the main focus is that ag exempt piece, and then I really would like to have a pond on there. So that's kind of like our goals for what we're looking for. And we think that in that budget we can do that. We want our mortgage to be 25% of our household income or less. And so really my goal, and this is what I've let my boss know is I'd love to be able to get to $175,000 a year in income. That'd be fantastic. I think we could probably pull it off closer to like 120 to 140. But I just want to make sure that we have plenty of cash flow to be able to pay the house off early and not be house poor. And so, I've been invested in this space for a long time, and that's helped open up different doors. There is a couple doors that I could walk through, that I know that I could push. There's one door specifically that if I continued in my role as a project manager, I could pretty easily push into the $200,000 a year mark. But project management is not really my cup of tea. I'm not really the most organized person in the world. I can make it happen, but it does not come at all naturally for me. So if that's something I have to do in order to grow my income, you know that that's what I'm going to be doing. But I also am looking at helping to build out the marketing thing that I've been working on. This presentation's almost done. And basically talking with my boss and the team about what it would look like if I stepped into a more full-time marketing role and what kind of opportunities would be there. And so that's kind of the conversations that we're having behind the scenes right now. So yeah, I think that pretty much, sums up some of the big goals that we're looking at as far as, what it looks like to roll into 2025 and what success looks like. I think Libby's got a really solid goal on the art front. I think we've got a really solid goal on the real estate front as long as, Palestine closes here. Getting all that redeployed, getting in some more JV capital, getting to 60K net worth, I don't think is unreasonable at all because we should have about 30K ourselves. Um, to be able to put back in somewhere in that ballpark. And then just kind of, slow and steady wins the race at the job for the next few years and continuing to build our income there and getting into a good home. I think we got a lot of good goals. I think we got good direction. I think that over the last few years, I've been learning the value of slowing down, becoming more of a tortoise, breaking out of the hare tendencies. I do think in some ways that I potentially started, slipping back into that hair mentality with the stocks and, catching myself on that and taking a step back and, realizing that, it's the long-term slow and steady wins the race that's going to build wealth over time, making wise and strategic moves, not just, chasing after the wind and trying to seize the wind in my hand. So, yeah. One other thing I'll tell you guys in 2025, as we're about to come to the first week of the month, the first week of the year, do not forget to pay your guys self first. Pay yourself first. Make sure you have every dollar accounted for. Make sure that you're not spending 100% of what you bring in. Make sure that you're putting aside for savings. Make sure that you're putting aside for cash flow. Make sure you're putting aside for net worth. Make sure you're paying yourself first and make sure that you're using your income to build net worth. Well, I said, guys, let's do our identity mantra before we cut out of here today. I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful and my wake is a wealthy legacy. I remember the way we find wealthy guys is the ability to cover your monthly expenses without having to lift a finger. And the way we define legacy is leaving a long lasting impact on those who come after you as they receive the fruit of your labor, whether that fruit be good or bad. So just remember, guys, be planting good seeds, cultivating good trees, so that way you can bear good fruit. With all that said, guys, it's been another episode dedicated to you and your own personal wealthy legacy journey. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, everybody.